Hello and welcome to OpenRose, an open source requirements management application. You can find more information about it at github.com/openrose. Today we are going to look into moving items or moving requirements. Let me start by going to the project list and show you an example project, which is Barclays tariff for personal customer. The Barclays Bank have released a public document explaining about tariffs for personal customers, and I've just tried using that document to convert it into a requirement structure here, giving that as an example. So let me show you that we have several requirements here which are captured in a nice structured way. And if I want to move one of those requirements, which is what's covered by tariff, for example, then I can take the source requirements ID, open using control click the move items under option. So when I do a control click, it will open it up in a different tab. There I will provide the ID of the source item, and then I have to provide the ID of the target item. Because I'm moving under, it will be a child of the target item, and the target item could be a requirement within the project or across different projects, or it could be an item type. So I want to move what's covered by the tariff under account eligibility and fees, and I want to move it at the bottom of the existing list or top of the existing list is the option that I will be selecting. So because I want to move under these item type, I'll go and pick up the ID of that item type, which is my target, and provide the target item type ID. And then I will say, move it to the top of existing list of children's, which means it will go at this location. So when I do the move, I get the confirmation that move was successful, and then let me refresh my view, and we should be able to see that what's covered by the tariff goes at the top location under the account eligibility and fees. The same way I can move it back to these original location. So let's take that ID again. Let me quickly move it back to its original location. And again here in that item type, I will select at the top. And when I go back and refresh my tree view, it should be back at its original location. The second option is to move the entire hierarchy. So I can select, let's say, this item, which is currently at the bottom of the list of debit card charges, and this is charges in the UK and abroad, and it has got some nice structure in it. So let's take this parent item along with all its child item. So I'm just selecting the ID of the parent item, and I want to say I want to move that item over to, let's say, account eligibility and fees at the bottom. So I'll again go back to account eligibility and fees ID, and there I'm going to select at the bottom of the child list. That means after fee declaration. So when I do that move, I get the confirmation it has successfully moved. And if I refresh the view, then we should be able to see charges in the UK and abroad has moved into account eligibility and fee at the bottom along with all its children. Again, let's move it back to its original place. So I'm just going to use the same ID as my source. My target will be debit card charges, and I'm just going to use at the bottom and then refresh my view. And you can see now that item has gone back to that location. The other thing I can do is I can move these items into a different project altogether. To do that, let me first go to project list view. I'm just going to create a dummy project. it's going to be dummy project with status of new and dummy as its description. It's the new project that I just created, and when I go to the tree view for that project, I can see parking lot item type is already there. I'm just going to create a new item type called as dummy items type and save that detail. So this is the ID of that dummy item type. Let's refresh this view, and that's where we can see the dummy item type. Okay, so I would like to move. First, let me select the source project, which is Barclays. Let's move if you have an older account with 4 children. So I'm just going to select that item. And this time in the target, I'm going to use the dummy project and the dummy item type. That's the ID, which I've now copied. And I'm going to just, there are no children, so it doesn't matter if I select the top or the bottom of the child list. And now what would happen is when I refresh the target project, I will see those data here. And when I go back to my original project, that data is gone from Barclays project. Let's bring it back into Barclays project. So going back to dummy, I can now select that ID and use that as my source ID. Back to Barclays project under this item type. So I'm moving in the target item type is at the bottom. You can very easily move multiple records, which are all hierarchical records, in one shot from one project to another project. The other thing I wanted to demonstrate is the ability to move items using the details view. So if I go to my requirement details view here, in my details view, I can see this data in this format and order, which is older accounts, rates for savers, fee information document and declaration. Then I can simply use this up and down button to reorder requirements at that level within the details view. So that's another way whereby you can move records up and down within a given level. And if I go back, I can see that if you have an older account which has got 4 children, when I move the parent, it will move all its children along with it. So now if I go back to the tree view, then I should be able to see if you have an older account with its 4 children at the top versus what's covered by the tariff here at the bottom. Let me go back to the details view and change that information again. So sorry, it was about of a tariff, and move it down, which will move in total 5 records, including itself, and 4 child records. So that's moving within the detail view, which is literally moving item up and down at that same level and reordering it at that level within the tree. And now finally, I wanted to show you that in my Barclays project, if I go back to the tree view, under a parking lot item type, let me create few items here. I'm just creating some structure. You can see some items are created, some siblings are created as well. So I can create some sibling records as well, and then maybe a few more child records as well. So this is just the new structure that I've just created in front of you. And now what I would like to do is I would like to delete all this data. Now if I delete the parent record here, then it by default deletes all its children. So in total, 14 records will be deleted, and they will not be moved to recycle bin. They are permanently deleted from within the repository. But on the other hand, what we can do is we can take the top item, which is ID this. In the details view, we can select the ID, and then in the move, I'm going to say move that source record into my target project dummy, and dummy doesn't have any data, so I'm just going to move it to dummy items type, or I can move it to parking lot within dummy. That is perfectly fine. But let me just move it to dummy items type. So all the 14 records are now gone over to this project, the dummy project, and we can see them here. And when I delete the project itself via the details view, so let me just simply go over to the details view, and in the delete project, it's confirming that are you sure you want to delete dummy project? And if I say yes, then all those 14 records are now gone as orphaned items. They are all sitting here. They don't have the same hierarchy as we saw in the dummy project, but yes, the record itself is still available. And now what I can do is I can pick up one of those records. Either by opening the record, I can see the record details, and then I can copy that record ID, and then I can move a single record into our project, say Buckley's, and I will move that into parking lot here. So let me take the parking lot ID as my target, and then I can say at the top of the parking lot. Now with that, if I go back, refresh my view, go right at the bottom of the parking lot here, we can see the new item at the top location within the parking lot item type. So you are able to bring back data from orphan data into a given project, which means my orphan items will now go down to 13 records. The other option that I have is to permanently delete all the data from orphan items. That is also something we will cover in the future video. So in this video, to conclude, I would like to say that moving items is very simple. To move under a specific location. In fact, we forgot to have a look at the move items between. So that's something I would like to also show. So let me go back into my Barclays project. And what I would like to do is I would like to say take the fee information, which is right in the middle of these records here. So let me take the ID of that, and this time I'm going to do move between. Now move between works only to allow moving items, the source item, to target items which has got sibling, which means I can move it in between these two records or these two records, or perhaps these two records here, but I cannot move it below this particular record because it doesn't have a second sibling. It has got a sibling as a previous item, so I have to select this replacement debit card charges as my first item, which means it will automatically select charges in the UK and abroad as my second item. So in this case, let's move fee information document under or in between replacement debit card charges and charges in the UK and abroad. So let's take the ID of replacement debit card charges and select that as a first item, and then automatically it selects charges in the UK and abroad as the second item, and ultimately it will move fee information document between these two records. So let's click on OK, and we should now be able to see that change. here. So you can see fee information document has been moved between replacement debit card charges and charges in the UK and abroad. That's moving item in between two existing records. Let me just move this back to its original location. So that's my source. And my target would be this because it needs to go in between rates for savers and declaration. So let me take that as my first item ID. And the second is also automatically selected, and click on OK to move them back to its original location. When I move the data, obviously here I'm just selecting one item, but if I would have moved, if you have an older account, in between replacement debit card charges and charges in the UK and abroad, then it will move all these 5 records, including its hierarchy. Okay, so now we can conclude this video, whereby I was just trying to show how requirements can be moved between the project, between the work item type, up and down in its own hierarchical level, or across the orphan items and back from orphan items into the project. So thank you so much for listening, and appreciate any feedback you may have. Please share the link with other people who can take benefit of this free requirements management application called as OpenRose. Thanks again and have a great day.